next is SMU and head coach Sonny Dykes. SMU is 5-6 overall, 4-3 in the American. Mustangs faced Memphis last Friday. Memphis won the game 28-18. Mustangs are on the road this week. They'll be facing Tulsa Saturday. That's at 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central on CBS Sports Network. Coach, thank you for joining us on the call today. If you just take a minute to tie up the game against Memphis, please, and what you expect to see as you take to the road to face Tulsa on Saturday.
Yeah, tough game Friday night. We needed to play well against a good Memphis team, and we wasted a bunch of opportunities in the first half offensively. I think we got inside the 30-yard line 5 times and got a field goal out of it. And so, when you're playing against a good football team, you've got to execute better than that. You got to take advantage of opportunities better than that. We got stopped on a 4th down and short, inside the 10. We didn't convert another 3rd and short and had to kick a field goal. We had a couple of instances where we got behind them, when we didn't get the pass completed. It was just one of those games where, the margin for error was pretty slight, and we just didn't execute well enough to get it done. So I was disappointed, in that. Thought we played well enough defensively to have a chance to win the game. Memphis is a good offensive football team. They got really good running backs, explosive wide receivers, and thought we held them to 7 points in the first half. We just squandered too many opportunities offensively. So thought our guys played hard. I think we've got when we get in those situations in the future where we're playing, for a potential conference championship or to play in the championship game, I think the next opportunity we have, we'll handle it better. I think it was probably a little too much for us at this point in our program. But again, you got to give Memphis credit. I thought they did a good job. They did a nice job taking care of the ball and did make a lot of mistakes. And so, it was disappointing, but obviously a big game this week going to Tulsa, and we're obviously playing for a lot.
Take questions for Coach Sonny Dykes, please. Star 1 on your telephone keypad will put you in the queue. Then the operator will introduce you.
And we'll go to Billy Embody with 247 Sports.
Hey, Coach. Good morning. On the Ryan Becker fumble play, it seemed like there was a little bit of knee twisting going on afterwards by the Memphis linebacker. I just didn't know what your thoughts were on that play and if there needs to be some sort of disciplinary protocol for stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that there was some extracurricular activity that went on. That's when Ryan hurt his knee, was when his knee was twisted after he was tackled. I think he's got a fairly substantial knee injury that was a result of that happening after the play. I would expect to hear something from either the league office or from Memphis, and as of now have not heard anything. So, yeah, I would expect to hear something based on that. That was a pretty obvious non-football move, I guess is the best way to put it, or, after the play, kind of intentional thing to injure somebody. And so, like I said, I would expect to hear something from somebody, but as of now, I have not. So, disappointed in that. Certainly there's not a place for that in college football. And as I said, we've got a player that's got a fairly significant injury as a result of it.
You guys dealt with the targeting thing to Demerick Gary. Is that part of, I guess, when looking at plays like that and reviews just from a conference standpoint, is there some sort of protocol that I think you guys as coaches probably should look at in the off season?
Well, I think it starts with you as the head coach of your program. You're responsible for your players and the way that they act, and so I think it all begins there. And then certainly, I think the conference needs to address issues like this, when they happen from time to time. And Memphis is a good football team, and they play hard, and they're they're a tough group, and certainly don't think that's anything that they're taught or anything like that. But like I said, I think that's where it begins is with coaches handling their teams and policing them, and I think that's, like I said, and then I think the conference has some responsibility as well.
Thank you.
And moving on, we will go to Jerry Fraley with Dallas Morning News.
Well, thank you. Sonny, you mentioned after the game Friday your guys who have played really hard were maybe starting to wear down a little bit. Did you get the sense yesterday when you got back on the field that, maybe they got a little more in their tanks and they can, crank it up for one more, fairly really important game?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the beneficial thing for us was having Saturday off. I think it was a very physical game. We had a lot of injuries in the game, particularly, to our defensive backs. And that group's kind of been a group that's been beat up. They've played a lot of snaps on special teams. You could see the group start to wear down a little bit. And I think it showed up on Friday night. I think, we've got to get those guys back healthy. And fortunately, as I said, having Saturday off, I think was a big day for us. When you play that Friday preparation or the Friday night game, it's such an unusual preparation because instead of a day off now, you've got to work straight through, and it really does have an impact on your players. And so I think our guys moved around really well last night. I think this time of year, a day off and an opportunity to rest and recover is really significant. And so, I noticed, I thought we had a really good practice last night. I thought the guys moved around well. I thought they competed hard. I think we know that winning at Tulsa is going to be very, very, very difficult. It's a good football team. They've played a lot of close games against good people this year. Winning on the road this time of the year is very difficult to do. And so I think our guys had the right mindset last night as we practiced, and I think we're excited about the opportunity.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next, we'll go to Dan Tortora with wakeupcalldt.com.
Good morning, Coach. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for asking. Just what you could say about, being in your first season with SMU, and I know you started off the season with some trying times, but are now in a position where you have one game to go and bowl eligibility on the line. Just what you've seen out of this team in your first season and their bounce back, so to speak. Yeah,
I've been impressed with the group, just their work ethic and focusing on what they can control, and that's improving and getting better. We started off with a really tough early season schedule. Again, you go back and you look at the teams that we lost to. Michigan has a chance to play in the college football playoff. We lost to a Cincinnati team that's a really good team. We lost to a Central Florida team that's a good team. We lost to a TCU team that's had a good year, or hadn't had a great year, but it's a good quality football team. It's a little bit out of character for them to have the kind of year that they're having. They played in the Big 12 championship game last year. And then we lost to a North Texas team that's a good team as well. And so when you go back and you look at who we lost to, we've lost to football teams that, have been established programs that know how to win. And again, with Cincinnati being the team that's really kind of improved their lot this year, I think they've done a nice job with that program. And we've won some tough games, some games that we could have lost. And our guys have just, really worked hard to just keep improving. And that's kind of what we told them at the very beginning is, let's just don't get caught up with winning and losing early. Go through the process, play as hard as you can, practice as hard as you can, grow as a team, invest in each other, invest in our program, and then we'll add them all up at the end of the year and see where we are. And so I think it would be significant if we could go on the road and win this week. It's going to be hard. I think it's a great test for our guys. I think it's a good, defining moment for where we are right now as a program. And I think, moving forward, consistent bowl appearances are what we need to have. I think that's going to be the standard for us. And giving ourselves an opportunity to compete for a conference championship, I think is going to be the standard that we have moving forward. And so, hopefully, hopefully bowl eligibility will become something that's expected around here. And again, our focus and will turn toward, hopefully playing for conference championships. Now, we're certainly not anywhere close to being there yet, but and I think that showed a little bit on Friday, but I think that's where we're headed.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate your time. Good luck.
Okay, thank you very much.
Next, we'll go to Don Wade with the Daily Memphian.
Yeah, Coach, I just wondered kind of your take on the overall strength of the conference now that we're to this point, and maybe particularly while UCF moved up in the AP poll to number 8, tied with LSU. LSU obviously is a 2-loss team. They don't have any. How much do you think the rest of the country is kind of still sleeping on the league?
I think very much so. I mean, I think it's unfortunate that the people that are voting in the polls or the people that are in the college football playoff room making those decisions, I mean, you would think that winning 23 games in a row would have enough meaning where they didn't have to have a primetime game in order to move them up. I just think that's, almost disrespectful. I think that, everybody says that you're supposed to be judged by what you do on the field. Well, I mean, winning 23 in a row is a very difficult thing to do. I don't care where you are, what league, any of that kind of stuff. And I think people need to take a look at it, and it needs to be respected. I think the league is good. I mean, I think there's a lot of depth in the league. I think, again, Memphis has a very talented football team, and the fact that they have 3 league losses, I think, speaks for the depth of the league. I mean, it's a good, solid league. You better play well. I mean, it doesn't matter really who you are in which team you have. You need to play well every Saturday, or you're going to get beat. And with teams like Tulane evolving, with Navy being what Navy's always going to be, and that's a very, very good football team and well coached and very difficult to beat. And hopefully with our emergence and our improvement as a program, and Houston being the kind of program they've had year in and year out, when you just start talking about our side, and Tulsa being a team that, you look at what they did against Texas early on. They had an opportunity to win that game at Texas early in the season. And so, when you start looking at the depth of the league, I think it's really impressive. And that's not even addressing, the East side, which I think this year is probably the strongest of the 2 sides. And so, when you sit down, you look at Central Florida, what they've accomplished, the kind of players they have. I can't help but think that if they were, in many different conferences, that they'd be in a similar type position based on the quality quarterback play they have, based on the speed they have at a bunch of different positions on offense, based on their defensive front and the athleticism and size that they have on their defensive front, and the speed they have on the back end of their defense as well. So, I think it's a little bit lazy in some ways to hold them out of there just because, you hadn't watched them play or you don't know much about them. I mean, I would hope the voters would take their job a little bit more seriously than that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks so much for your time, not only this morning, but all year long. Best of luck to you and the Mustangs going forward.